Hello friends, happy Friday. How is everyone doing tonight? I hope your weekend is off to a great start. I am happy to be here and happy to be smoking the Matches Memorial Friday Savinelli as is tradition with some Haunted Bookshop. And my, Friday night. Let's see who we got visiting with us so far. There's Steve Russell. How you doing, Steve? Puny Pipe Man, Clarence Wood, Kirk from Florida. Good to see you, Kirk. On the phone in the hospital. Oh goodness, Kirk. How you doing, buddy? Are you getting better? Getting worse? What's going on there? Jeffrey Feinberg. How you doing, Jeffrey? Kevin Berenger. Finally made one. Glad you did, buddy. Gary Edminster. There's Doug Owen and the Mad Piper and Todd Monson. Oh, good to see so many folks gathered here already. As we're getting started here, before we get too far into it, a couple of things. You might have seen this at the outset, which hopefully is showing up now. So I will not be here on... Did I really screw things up? No, I think I'm okay. I will not be here next week because of Good Friday, and I'll try to remember to remind folks of that as the evening goes on, because people come in and out. The other thing that I definitely don't want to forget is that I heard from our buddy Cliff Higgins today. They're having all kinds of weather in his neck of the woods, and apparently really severe storms and possible tornadoes and things like that from what's going on right now. And he said it's going to continue until 10 o'clock his time down there in Arkansas. So keep Cliff and his family and all of our other friends down there in mind, because it sounds like it's going to be quite a mess. So let's see, we got there's Jers Piper. Thank God it's Friday indeed. Make sure I got this right. Yep. Pipe on the Mountain. Hello, good to see you. Sailor's got Shandy Graff in a Briar Works. Very nice. Kevin Berenger. Can't believe it's already Good Friday. I know, Kevin, I know. I'll tell you, I was, so yesterday was opening day. Well, it was Philly's first game of the season. And you'll notice I got my Larry Blackett baseball tamper out here to celebrate. And I watched the game because I love watching the first game. Well, I like watching Phillies games in general. And I was thinking, you know, the last thing I did with my dad was watch the World Series before he passed away, and the Phillies were in the World Series, and that was a great experience because, you know, it's something we shared our lives together. And I was thinking, man, how could it possibly be true that the next season is starting? Like it seems like that was like 2 weeks ago, and it just, time is flying. Time is just flying, and I can't believe it's Good Friday already. It's just amazing. I don't know if that just happens as we get older, but a lot of people seem to feel like time is just moving faster these days. Welsh Piper, good morning to you. Good to see you. There's Stanley Smith, Gary Edminster. I think I caught you already, Gary. There's Armchair Piper. How you doing, Ed? And Pipe Writer, howdy. Good to see you tonight. And there's Little Piper Todd. How you doing, Todd? So this is Haunted Bookshop from a nice fresh batch. Just opened a new pound bag tonight. Smooth Piper, hello Peter. Happy Friday to you, sir. And I gotta tell you guys, it's the end of an era in Haunted Bookshop history. This is the pound bag I just finished. My former luxury pouch. And this is the new one. So I have finally finished my last pound of the old label. And this is the first new label that I'm opening. New label isn't terrible. I mean, in a lot of ways I like it a bit more. But, I miss the old one. And I got plenty of the old label stuff jarred up and whatnot, but that's the last bag that I have of it. Scott Terry, hello. Thanks for joining us all the way from Maine there, Scott. Enjoying some Peretti 150th anniversary flake and a Peterson straight bulldog. Very nice. Doug Owen says, nice shirt. Looks like a bit of a departure from the usual garb. You know, Doug. It was a bit of a departure from the usual day today. Cards lost a close one. Yeah, the Phils lost a not so close one, Doug. But yep, 161 more games to go. So we'll see how that works out. The occasional Clay Piper, how you doing, buddy? And Piper on the 45. That's okay, Kevin. Thanks for jumping on the ship while it was sailing last year. Yornik, hello. How's it going, my friend? Kirk. Well, I hope they. It's a special heart failure, and they're working on the water retention. Yeah, that's a tough issue with heart failure for sure. Well, I hope they're making progress there, buddy. And we're certainly going to be thinking of you and praying for you there. Smooth Piper's got Haunted Bookshop in his Friday 7 LA Roma. Very nice. Tim Fournier, just letting Bella go potty. Well, Bella's got to do what she's got to do, buddy. Good to see you, Tim. Little Piper Todd's got Balkan Sabrani and an Eden. Nice. Indeed, Kevin, I still got the old label on the Carter Hall tub. And I got like, I don't know, 6 or so of those put away for when that one gets too messed up. Michael Case has got C&D dark chocolate in a cob. Nice, Michael. There's Artie from Artie's Place. How you doing tonight, my friend? Yornik's got Mad Fiddler Flake in a mirror. Don't change what ain't broke. There you go. And Tramper Scott. Pipe Raider's got some Professor blend going in an old custom built. Yornik has finished the animated Batman movie and says it was pretty good. I haven't seen much Batman in general in a long time. I was a fan way back, but just lost interest, I guess. I don't know. The animated ones I never liked very much. Yeah. Todd Monsoon, anyone have any contact with Preacher Man Piper? He mentioned some health problems in his last video. I have not. Anyone else out there heard from Preacher Man? I do remember him talking about some health issues, but have not heard from him in a while. But I am admittedly the worst possible person to ask about any goings on these days, because I've had very little time to do anything, let alone watch watch videos, which I really wish I could. I miss doing it. So Pipe on the Mountain says that Doc is still looking for prayers, so we'll need to keep that in mind. Yornik says the Batman, the recent movie, is pretty good. Okay. Yeah, I didn't mean to say they weren't good, Yornik. I just haven't seen any in a while, but maybe I should check that one out. Ford smoking pipes, Northwest Arkansas clear and 50-mile-an-hour gust. Ooh, those are some gusts. Well, that's exciting news there, Doug. Doug Owen got a call from a lady this week who has over 200 sealed tins of various high-grade tobaccos from a passed-away friend. Some tins are over 20 years old. She will be selling them online soon. Oh, Doug, you should have told her they were worth nothing and you would have disposed of them for her. No. I hope you're able to point her in the right direction, Doug. Just kidding. Kevin Doolin, good evening. Yeah, dishes will do that to you. Michael Case says he just saw Sergeant Savinelli plans on going on another site with all his posts. I just haven't been able to keep up, Michael, but is that site by any chance Rumble? I know a lot of folks have been doing some stuff there. Okay, Yornix, so you're fans of the DC stuff, huh? One thing I'm really not interested in is any of the Marvel recent stuff that's come out. I tried watching some of it, like, I don't know, 5 or 8 years ago, and just couldn't get through the movies. I thought they were terrible. But DC is a completely different thing. So it is Rumble. Okay, Michael. Yeah, I got a channel over there. I haven't looked at it in years. Yes, Tim, I can join you in that testimony. 30-year-old half and half is wonderful stuff. Unfortunately, it's not easy to find. Yes, Yornik, it does feel that way. A lot of things feel that way, to be honest. You know, Tim, speaking of the 30-year-old half and half, it just made me think, time travel. If I could figure out time travel, which is not going to happen because I'm not trying and I don't think it's possible, but let's just say I somehow accidentally discovered time travel. I don't want to use it to like go back in time and change history and kill Hitler or whatever. I just want to go back to a time when I could buy something like half and half really cheap and buy like, I don't know, 100 tubs of it and just bury it somewhere so I can go and find it now. That's all. Is that asking too much? I don't even want to sell it. I'll give it away. I'll share it. I won't give it all away, but I'll share it. I just want to have it. I want to have the knowledge 30 years ago that I should do that. Kevin Doolin has a question. I have a Savinelli Trevi with a smooth finish, and I'm starting to notice the stain finish getting lighter where I usually hold it. Is this from skin oils or rubbing off the finish/stain? Huh. That's an interesting question, Kevin. I mean, it's hard to say without seeing it, but so it's a smooth. Sometimes, like if you were to get some water or alcohol or something like that on a smooth, it'll look lighter depending on the stain, simply because you've damaged the wax finish. My guess is that if you took that and got it buffed, or if you could buff it yourself and put some fresh carnauba on it, that would probably go away. But without looking at it, it's hard to say for certain. It's probably just that either just rubbing it or the skin oils and rubbing it are removing the wax finish. Doug says he pointed at a pipe stud, great source, and gets hundreds of hits. Yeah, that's definitely the place to go. I'm glad the better angels prevailed, Doug. You will be rewarded for that. They're using another Earth Batman? Oh, Tim, that's going to confuse me. And Tim just likes superhero movies and TV shows, period. So we won't argue with you, Tim. I have nothing against them. There's just some I like and some I don't like. George Tiedemann, hello. Good evening to you. Priorities, no butterfly effect. Exactly, Tim. Exactly. Pipe writer says that's a sign of a pipe well loved. Armchair piper would go back in time to buy stock in pipe cleaners. I don't know that you'd get rich doing that, but at least you'd have easier access to them, I suppose. Tim would be the only 8-year-old with unopened Star Wars toys. Phil Rivara, hello. Good to see you tonight, Phil. And Harlow Piper, hello. So I took my wife to the dentist today. She didn't know if it was going to be a consult or if she was actually going to get a procedure done where she was going to be knocked out. And she's going to have to get a procedure done. They decided not to do it today. But that was a fun afternoon. I got to not work for a while and enjoy beautiful Ardmore, PA. Not that beautiful really, but it was a ride. Ah, yes, Michael. She is home. She returned home last Sunday. To much fanfare from Thatcher and Isabel. They're very happy to have her home. But I'm still doing all the cooking and dishes and stuff because of her the 5 stitches in her hand. That's going much better though. I had to take her on, is it Monday or actually we went Sunday night I think to get the stitches out. I can't remember now. But she was like a day over what she was supposed to be, and she was worried because they were starting to like dig into the skin where they were looping, and she wanted to get them out. So I said, you know, I've got fly tying scissors, I got vodka. We don't really need to go anywhere. But she insisted. So we get to I took her to what's it called? It's an urgent care facility, but it's actually part of the hospital that we go to, and we're patients of the doctors there. So it wasn't like we went in for urgent care, but we could just schedule through that anyway. So we scheduled an appointment. I took her in, and you know, it's snip, 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 and they're done. It was real easy. But she tells the doctor that I offered to take out the stitches with vodka and fly tying scissors, and the doctor just sort of stops in his steps and looks at me, and he's trying to, and I smile, you know, so, and he thinks for a minute and he says, was the vodka for you or for her? And I said, well, we were both going to do a shot before. And he said, well, then it probably would have worked out fine. So, okay, he's an okay doctor in my book then. So we go to the dentist today, and she's really nervous about this procedure. It's a bit of oral surgery. It's not terrible, but she doesn't like this kind of stuff. She has to get nitrous oxide just to get her teeth cleaned because she gets really upset when the dentist has his hands in her mouth and stuff. She's terrified of dentists. So she's really, really panicking about this and everything, and she doesn't know if she's going to get the procedure or not. So we're sitting there in the waiting room. It's just me and her waiting, and I said to her, so if you don't get the procedure done, what do you want for dinner? And she said, oh, I don't care, whatever you want to make, because again, I have to do the cooking because of her hand. And I said, okay, well, if you do get the procedure done, what do you want? And she said, oh, something soft, maybe like mashed potatoes or something. I said, oh, okay, good. I said, now, is there anything you'd like me to eat if you don't make it? And she just sat there for a minute and it didn't quite click. And then she realized what I said and she got this panic look. And then she started to laugh. At that point, the dental technician comes out to get her. And she says something like, oh, you guys are having fun or something. You're not going to believe what he just said. And she tells her that I just said, what do you want me to eat for dinner if you don't make it? And she looks at me like, you terrible human being, you. And then my wife says to her, and he wanted to take my stitches out with my tying scissors and vodka. And the woman just glares at me and walks away. Yeah, so I'm going to be a medical menace. I'll have my picture up in hospital waiting room. All right, I'm falling behind here. Yeah, Tim, that requires some wire and yeah, your average dentist won't do that. Michael Muirhead, good to see you. Having a cigar, haven't smoked in 5 months due to the death of Dad. Many problems, but enjoying. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Mike. But I'm glad you're enjoying the cigar. Yeah, Tim, they can be squirmy. Stanley Smith has got an unnamed pipe with 5-year-old Prince Albert. Not bad. That's right, Phil. The scissors were just for the vodka. Yeah, Doug, I'm not a bad cook. I just don't do it often enough to be proficient at it. But I'm okay. I get by. And you know, steak. It's interesting. Steak grilling, hamburgers. Those are the kind of things that guys are usually good at. And if we get steaks and we're going to grill them, I don't even try. My wife is the master at that. She makes them far better than I ever could. I mostly will make like Italian things like that. I'm pretty good with like spaghetti sauce and various types of Italian dishes. I can make vodka sauce, sage sauce for butter, sage sauce for gnocchi, things like that. I'm pretty good with. I make a mean pot of rice. Todd says a couple of cigars did fix your palate. Fantastic. Yeah, it's funny how that happens. I don't know what it is, but when your palate's off, when things just aren't tasting right, a cigar can often reset it. Scars are just another reason to get more tattoos, according to Yarnick's better half. Indeed. And Burley T. Roy saying hello to Phil there. How you doing, buddy? Phil, that's awful. One of the Catholic nuns had a scar on her neck, and the students called her Sister Zipper Neck. Oh, children are cruel. Brian Woodward makes a mean jar of ragu. Yeah. I rarely start with tomatoes or even canned tomatoes when I make sauce. I usually will start with something like ragu, but I change it a lot. You know, put meat in it and wind up. Actually, I usually put it in the oven in a like a Dutch oven and let everything kind of roast. It's a little unorthodox, but it's the method I like to use. But I learned the basic recipe from lived in an Italian neighborhood when I was a kid, so got to hang out with my family. Actually, I've got an Italian last name, but my family is not actually Italian. My dad's dad was, but he was raised more in a sort of German Welsh tradition, and my mom was raised in a very German Irish tradition, and so I did not really have that in the family. It was friends that were the Italian influence. Agarak. Good morning from Pakistan. Good to see you, Agarak. Thank you for joining us. And Couch, who is now officially a Dunhill pipe snob. Yes, Couch has got a very nice 1959 Dunhill. I saw a photograph of it. And no, it's not a birth year we established, didn't we, Couch? Nope, nothing wrong at all with it, Tim. No, Peter, I do not add wine to the sauce. It's interesting. I don't think I ever use wine in. Do I ever use wine in Italian? Yeah, some dishes I do. Yeah, there's a couple things. There's it's basically stuffed chicken thighs. It's almost an Italian version of cordon bleu, where you bone the thighs and you put prosciutto and some. Oh, I'm blanking on the name of the cheese. A sharp cheese, sharp Italian cheese, and you sew it up and actually cook it. And anyway, that gets a wine sauce. And there's others, I'm sure, but I don't add it to my spaghetti sauce. Arlo Piper's got to get a beer. Well, go get one. Yeah, I rarely make it from scratch, but I have. Our CSA will sell like these big boxes of plum tomatoes for like $4 or something, and when they have those, I roast them and freeze them, and they make really nice spaghetti sauce. Yeah, I know about the sugar there, Kevin. I actually follow something pretty close to the Godfather recipe, but I don't do the sugar. No, Couch, the 4 dots upstairs, and I'm not going to be smoking it tonight. It's out of the rotation this week. The Urban Hermit. Hello, Everett. Smoking Haunted Bookshop in the Savinelli Series 3 Unfinished 673. Nice. Indeed, Doug. Tattoos are hard to remove. Ah, fantastic, Kevin. So if you're close to Janesville, Wisconsin, Happy Piper's new brick and mortar is great. Pipes and cigars only, let's support them. So indeed, even if you're not too close, make the trip. Oh, Yornik says Italian, French, African, and Russian cuisine when they're not feeling too adventurous. I like Russian cuisine. There was a Russian restaurant when I lived in Pittsburgh that I really liked, and nobody would ever go with me because they didn't think it was good food. Steph Endor, Skip Kane. How you doing, Steph? Good to see you tonight. Tim says he usually does put sugar in, but he was told to put a raw peeled potato instead to even out the tartness of the. I'm surprised that would work. I know the potato will help pull salt out, but interesting. I mean, the way I make it, so I start with the meat, and I don't know if you guys really want this, but I start with the meat, and then once that's cooked, I take it out. I cook the vegetables, usually a combination of onions, green bell pepper, and I'll put in some hot pepper because I like it spicy. Cook that down, put the meat on top of it, and then pour the jarred sauce over that, and like let it just kind of sink down through. Put the lid on, put that in the oven for 3 or 4 hours, and when you do that, the vegetables get roasted and they get caramelized, and that actually helps a lot with the tartness. You get a little sweetness from the vegetables when you do it that way. That's just my opinion. Russian cuisine equals potatoes, stewed meat, caviar, and 1 gallon of vodka and pickles. Yeah, well, there's some cabbage in there, Kevin. Hey, Parik Piper Skip. Good to see you, buddy. Missed you too. That's right, Tim. We smoke 4 dots on Sundays now. That's the rotation. There you go, beef stroganoff. What's not to like about that? Says Doug, and I agree. Oh, come on, Tim. The Russians aren't communist, and certainly the people making the cuisine weren't. There was no cuisine invented in Russia after 1918, was it? Georgian cuisine as well. I'm not going to try to pronounce that, Yurnik. Love good old American cuisine like McDonald's, says Burley T. Roy. There you go. Andrew Sirigliano. Hello, happy Friday to you, sir. Yes, you do the sour cream or buttermilk indeed. Borscht. I mean, who doesn't like a cold beet soup? It's good stuff. Good stuff. For those just joining us, we are for some reason talking about Russian food. I don't remember why, which is wonderful. Yeah, I was referring to the revolution, Tim. And you know, but probably this will probably get this video flagged now that I think of it. To be yet another silly reason YouTube sends me a warning. Chicken Kiev is disappointing, Skip. I agree with you on that. That's the old Russia, Doug. No, George, this is the old St. Benedict Zippo that my buddy, the artful codger, gave me. I've had this for years. And I thought it's appropriate given we're coming to the end of Lent. Yeah, Anthony Bourdain in Russia was a good thing for sure. That was tragic. I really you don't know what's going on in someone's life. You don't know their side of the story, but that one is just hard to process, to be honest. Oh, Yornik, I understand that. We actually wound up going out to dinner tonight because of laziness. I mean, I didn't know what to make because of the whole are you going to have the procedure, not have the procedure thing that I talked about earlier. And by the time we were driving home, it was getting close enough to dinner time. So we went to a Mexican restaurant, and I had fish tacos, so I was a good boy, given that it's a Friday in Lent. But I did have a margarita, which is why tonight I've just got some water here because it was a large margarita and very good. Patrick Grant, how you doing, buddy? The occasional Clay Piper says enjoys a good cup of Russian tea. Yes, I had a Russian. I forget the name of it, but I buy tea from this company called Upton. I've got a really nice selection, and years ago, back before it was probably 2018 or sometime around there. I got some Russian tea from them. It was very good. I really like the depth of it. It's a good strong tea. I'm not a tea drinker for the most part, but it's a nice alternative to coffee, and it's easy to make it work. Um, and I like the ones that are richer and darker because they're more like coffee. No, this is actually, well, I'm not John Constantine. I just like Saint Benedict. He's my buddy. It's got nothing to do with Keanu Reeves. In fact, I hadn't seen that movie until just, I think the end of last year was the first I saw that. I didn't even know it was a movie when I got this. Gator tail is acceptable for Lent? I don't know, Tim. I guess it depends. Steph says gator tail tastes like swamp foot. I guess we have to wonder what swamp foot tastes like and why you, well, anyway. Puny Pipe Man, what is a good all-around fly to use this time of year for trout? Live in Blue Ridge Mountain in Southwest Virginia. Oh boy. It's hard to say because I don't know the streams in your area, but probably a nymph and probably something like a pheasant tail or a hare's ear nymph. Todd is saying a copper John. Yeah. Sailor says any fly that catches fish will do. It's very pragmatic of you, Sailor. Well, Steph, you've just made it impossible for me to ever try gator tail. Thank you. Munchie's tea is top notch. Oh, is that what Doug was? I saw Doug say Munchies. I didn't know if he was just hungry or what was going on there. So that's a tea? Yeah, the whole fish. Well, first of all, it's not fish for Fridays in Lent. It's no meat on Fridays, um, and it was no meat because it was, supposed to be something difficult, and in most places that was a sacrifice to not have meat one day out of the week. Now there are places where um, there just aren't fish. It's just not possible to eat fish, and it was recognized that there should be some acceptable source of protein. Um, so there are all these odd things where, in some places it's okay to eat gator tail, or there's, I'm trying to remember the large water rat that is eaten. It'll come to me, but there's a large water rat in some parts of, I believe, South America that is edible, or at least it's used as a food. Well, I guess that means it's edible. And that the local church decided that that was acceptable. It might be culturally unusual to eat fish or whatever, but it's not about like this. If you eat fish, it's special, or warm-blooded meat is evil. It's just a matter of some kind of sacrifice. That's the point. Nutria. That's it, Sailor. Thank you. Murchies with an R. Gotcha, Doug. And yes, there are a lot of nymphs in fly fishing, but not, yeah. Spaghetti and butter, that works. Everett, that's not going to happen. I mean, there's sacrifices, then there's just making yourself miserable. Yernick says Turkish tea, Vassalor, for example, is very good too. I don't think I've ever had Turkish tea. I'll have to look for that. Patrick, not sure if he can make Vegas this year. I haven't even thought about it yet, Patrick. When is it? The old rule for monks was nothing that walks on 4 feet, says Michael. Michael Case. So that means that something like chicken would be acceptable. Yes, Gary, Nutria was the rodent that I was trying to think of. I actually think I have a Nutria skin. The fly tying thing. Sailor's got Nutria on his ranch and farm. Huh. Polish Piper, it's Steve Carlton. He's asking about the signature on the baseball up there. Ah, Jim, you got the seafood allergy, yeah. That's true, Kevin. I could erase 3 jillion years of purgatory, but it would still only be a short drop in the bucket to in terms of how much time I'm going to need to spend if I'm lucky enough to get into purgatory. It's in October, okay. Are you guys thinking about going this year, Steph? And/or Skip? Tim's glad to be Baptist now. Well, with the seafood allergy, that's one reason that it might be good. Ron Hardcrackers saying hi to everybody. Late because Pam made him vacuum the floor for his supper. That's cruel and unusual punishment there, Ron. But at least he didn't have to vacuum his dinner off the floor, so I guess that helps. I'm falling behind again, aren't I? I have not. Couch is asking if anyone has heard from XJ lately. Steph says not sure. Skip says a solid maybe. Yeah, I feel the same way with the rough year. I mean, we've had all kinds of stuff going on, and yeah, it's hard for me to plan anything right now. Well, Yornik, if you can't smoke and drink in heaven, and that would make it not heaven for you, then you must be able to smoke and drink in heaven because you have to enjoy it, right? Something like that. I am going to switch over to this little beauty. This is my Talbert, the special Raven's wing with the Starry Night swirl on it. Very, very happy with this pipe. And am I gonna smoke? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and have some Irish flake. Charlie Delgado, how you doing, Charlie? Wants to know where he can buy bamboo and stems to do his first project. Well, there's a couple of places, but I think the best place if you don't know what you're looking for and the place that has the most stuff is Vermont Freehand. And you can find them at vermontfreehand.com. Steve Norris, who's the proprietor there, is a good guy. He'll help you with questions if you have them, and he's got a really nice selection. So that would be my first stop. Kim informs us that there will be I Hate Roger Goodell in heaven. There would have to be. Yornik, I look forward to that day when I see you two in heaven smoking pipes, but I think there's going to be a lot of pipe smokers in heaven. I mean, we are good people, right? Arlo Piper just lit up some Moreland Flake. There's Tobacco Pipes International. Hey, Mark, good to see you tonight. So there's a funny heaven story about, you know, if there's no pipe smoking in heaven, I'm not going, or something like that. Whatever it was that Yornik said. Related to that, there's, I think it was Fulton Sheen, who was talking to an elderly woman whose dog had just passed away. And she asked Bishop Sheen if her dog would be going to heaven. And he gave the appropriate answer in terms of theology, which is, you know, we don't think that animals have souls in the same way that humans have souls. And while God loves all his creation, they probably are not going to be in heaven. And the woman got upset and said, well, if that's true, I wouldn't enjoy heaven at all. And Fulton Sheen said, well, then dogs must go to heaven. Because you have to enjoy it, right? So I just like that story. Probably not theologically accurate, but who cares? Good point, Kevin. We don't know the nature of heaven, so we don't take earth for granted. Yes, Lord Hogarth, there is such a spot reserved for Goodell. But the tobacco named I Hate Roger Goodell, that will be flowing in abundance in heaven. That and Haunted Bookshop. There will be entire rivers of Haunted Bookshop. And Yingling. I don't know if Voodoo is on here, but he would say if there's going to be Yingling, I ain't going. Pensive Piper says no hate or Roger Goodell in heaven. That's an interesting point, Pensive Piper. Maybe we'll have to change the name of the blend. I agree too, Doug. If there's no dogs in heaven, according to Will Rogers, he wants to go where they go then. And yeah. Oh, Couch, I don't know. Me and Ilva are going to try to get you in through the back door, Couch. Yeah, the Rainbow Bridge, that's a neat little idea there, Yernik. And, you know, it's one of those things that feels corny when you're not going through that, but when you are going through that, and I've been through it many times, it's comforting. Indeed, Steph, the whole thing is kind of silly because if you're in the presence of God, what could make you unhappy, right? but we're getting a bit deep. Or at least out of my depth. Roger Goodell isn't here, doesn't have the same ring to it. Oh, that's funny, Tim. How about Roger Goodell in hell? Michael's asking if I've made any decisions on my pipe refresher idea. Michael, I would love to do it. It's just a matter of having time to launch it. And I figure if I don't have time to launch it, I probably shouldn't do it. Because then I don't have time to do it. So I'll keep you posted. That is a good one, Yernick. May you end up in heaven half an hour before the devil knows you're dead. I am enjoying this Irish flake, which surprised me. You know, I opened it because it had the word Irish on it for St. Patrick's Day, but I really do enjoy it. Tobacco Pipes International says evil more evil, love more love, happy more joy, etc. Sounds reasonable. That would be enhanced in. Yeah, Ron, I think I kind of learned that the first time around, you know. Not that I didn't think it out. I mean, I actually thought it out quite carefully the first time around, and spoke to some of you before launching the business, and you know, just didn't realize how popular it was going to become. And I'm just one guy, and I just couldn't keep up with the demand, which is a good problem to have. But you know, having a full-time job on top of that there was just no way to deal with it. But these are things that are the biggest issue was always stems, and if I say no stems, that might allow me to at least do some of it. And it's not a money-making thing. I do it for the love of it. I try to charge just what it takes to be able to buy the materials I need and, you know, keep the lights on in the shop more or less. So it's not for money at all. It's a hobby, really. So the last thing I want is to have something like that become stressful, which is what happened to me with the former incarnation of the business. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. It is going to take some more thought, and I don't think I'll be making any decisions until late summer, maybe the fall. The work of chaos isn't finished yet, says Yornik. Patrick hasn't tried Irish Flake. You should, Patrick. Although I understand that the version I've got is not the same as what's being currently sold. Mine is from 2017, and they apparently changed it around 2021, 2022, somewhere in there. So your mileage might vary, but It's a nice bun. Mark needs a pipe banded, slight crack in the shank. Can't email me, but I can email you. Okay, I'll see what I can do, Mark. I think I have your email address. I think I do. We'll figure something out, and you know that's the kind of thing where honestly it's going to be a while till I can get to it, but yeah, I can help you with that. And that's one of the things that I'll do if I do this relaunch. I'll band shanks because that's not many people do it right, to be honest, and it's not terribly difficult to do, and you know it can be done in a reasonable amount of time. Whereas making a stem sometimes takes me a week, sometimes takes me a month, depending on what else is going on. Now, Eileen's Dream is one I have not tried, Patrick, but good to hear you've enjoyed it. TPI said he tried emailing me and it said not delivered. Huh. Well, I will give it a shot, Mark. I'm pretty certain you've sent me emails in the past. I don't know what's going on now, but let me check, and if not, I'll go over to your channel and comment or something, and we'll figure something out. Yes, you're in a chaos doesn't mean evil, indeed. It just means chaos. That's true, Sailor. You don't want to make a hobby into a business. But nobody says you can't make a business into a hobby. Todd Barstow, finally catching some of this live tonight for a change. You're not late, Todd. You're just in time. Glad you made it, buddy. Yes, Steve, I do glue the crack. Depending on the crack. I mean, if it's a large crack, sometimes it needs a little bit of fill as well. And yeah. Gary Edminster can't email me either. Huh. It's just a standard Gmail account. I don't know what would be the problem. Oh, Phil. Well, that's great. I hope you don't mind me referring him to you. You're the only person I knew that might be able to do that shank cap. Sure thing, TPI. No worries. Yeah, Doug, I've heard of that guy. Out in Poulsbo. All right, Steph, Skip, thank you so much for joining us. It was great to see you guys tonight, and glad you're back, Skip. Have a great night and a good weekend. Excellent point, Tim. Chaos isn't evil, but all evil is chaotic. That is weird, Gary. That you've got Gmail and I've got Gmail and we can't connect. That is really weird. Smarty Bob, hello. Good to see you. Stanley Smith says Irish Flake or Old Dublin. The Old Dublin he likes more. Huh. Not Not sure I've had Old Dublin, to be honest, Stanley. I'm trying to place it. I will check my spam folder, Phil. I see TPIs also has Gmail, but they're getting feedback that can't be sent. So it's not that I'm getting it and not responding. They're getting told that it can't be sent or can't be delivered or something. I don't know if there's there's no reason why this would happen, but I don't know if there's like a blocked email thing or something in Gmail that, you know, maybe Google in its wisdom decided to block those addresses for some reason. I'll have to look into that. Old Dublin has a lot of key in it. That's why I don't know it, Doug. Thank you. Sailor says around Tuesday and Wednesday of this coming week there might be problems with the web and email. Why is that, Sailor? I do not have Office 360, Tim. I just go directly through Gmail. Michael K says he knew a guy from Dublin who was an Irish flake. Okay, Mark, that sounds good. If you could do the screen cap. And by the way, you or Gary, if you are on Instagram, you could always get a hold of me there with a direct message. I'm Kane Rod Piper on Instagram as well. Or leave a comment on one of the videos here, I'll see it. But you can't like send a picture or something like that. And it's public as well. I think if you go to my website, there's a contact form. I think it's still up there that you could use that will maybe bypass that as well. You could try that, but I don't think you can attach photos to it. Doug asked, did we hear about the pipeline of coffee Starbucks is building between Seattle and New York to deliver fresh coffee to the Big Apple? This sounds like a setup for a joke, Doug. I have not heard about the pipeline. Does it say pipeline? Technically it's pipeline, but I think he means pipeline. Sorry, Doug, I'm having difficulty with my vision, not your spelling. I usually can translate on the fly for such things. What is tomorrow? Ah! Okay, Doug. Ron found a pipe for sale that has a weird, how did they do that, chip knocked out of the inner rim. Ah. I think I did. I think if you look at my, there's a video that I have on a Dunhill, a little short stubby Dunhill that had a, I can't remember if that was the one or not, but it had a chip like that, and I used epoxy with some briar dust to fill it. So that's probably what I would try to do, but the fact is, if it's, it'll work with some chips, depending on how much there is to grab onto there. If it's, really large and regular surface, is probably going to knock out. Probably won't hold over time. So if you have the pipe already, you could try it, but if you don't have, if it's not one that you absolutely have to have, I'd probably skip it. So the pipe that TPI was talking about came from Mick, a Dublin piper who has been AWOL for the past 2 years. Yeah, I remember him. Piping hot coffee, says Tim. Ha ha ha. Oh, you fell for that one, huh, Doug? When I was a postdoc, the other postdocs and grad students in the lab used to love to play April Fool's jokes on my boss. And they were cruel. And I actually felt like they were a little too cruel, so I didn't often join in. And the one year that I remember really well was I think we had 4 or 5 female either grad students or postdocs, and they planned it out really well, that like between this time and this time, every 15 minutes or so, one of them was going to go and knock on his door and sit down and tell him that they were pregnant, and they were going to leave. And I happened to come in at the tail end of this with an actual question that I needed to ask him, and knocked on the door, and he gestured me to come in, and I sat down, and he looked at me, and he's dead serious, looks at me and says, "Please don't tell me you're pregnant." I wasn't in on the joke. It's your feast day, Michael. Okay, so if it's got some rough splinters there, Ron, that might work. Yeah, I'd use a good epoxy, probably something like, what is the stuff I use? G-Flex, and some briar dust. And I'm sure I've got a video that shows that method. I think it was the Dunhill, the little stubby Dunhill restore that I did. A 702 maybe, something like that. Yeah, Sailor, you probably wouldn't be making that joke anymore. The one thing, Ron, is you're never going to get that to look like it's not a a repair. It'll stain. If you use the epoxy and briar dust, you'll get it to take stain, but it's going to be one color, and it'll look different from the rest of the pipe. April Fools was a great movie, even though he hates rom-coms. I'm sure I know what you're talking about, Michael, but it's not linking up in the noggin tonight, what movie that is. Yornik is trying to shame y'all into hitting the like button. Please do. Please do. It greatly helps. Not me. I just do this for fun, but it helps grow the community. April Fool's Day was a good horror movie, not gory. Sounds like a more recent horror movie, Tim. I don't typically watch those. Mostly because they tend to be gory. Not really into the slasher gory type horror. Yeah, Piper on the 45, I got you. Would not be an inaccurate move to cancel it for those reasons. Yeah, Doug, it's like somewhere back in the 60s, every pipe manufacturer bought a giant tub of pink putty. I never wanted to invest in anything more appropriate in terms of color matching. There you go. Patrick's making an excellent point about the repercussions of not hitting the thumbs up button. Yeah, Doug, I actually just watched, I've seen Nosferatu in the past, but I just watched it a couple weeks ago on this old movies app that I was talking about. And yeah, it's definitely creepy. Well done for that time. The use of shadows in that movie is really cool. Well, Ron, I would recommend pipe mortar over pipe mud because that's more likely to last. The pipe mud will break down pretty quickly. If by that you just mean cigar ash and water. I know folks have used JB Weld in those sorts of situations. I've never tried it. I've used JB Weld, but not in pipe bowls. Could work. Yeah, try it. What's the worst that would happen? You're out 15 or 20 bucks and you chip it out and try epoxy next time. Harlow Piper only sees 15 likes. What do I get? I see 39, which is wonderful. Thank you, folks. Yeah, YouTube's funny about you might have to refresh Harlow Piper. Tim went through 4 Scream movies this week. Wow. Yeah, Doug, they were masters of shadow and light, and yes, part of it I think comes from the challenges of conveying that in black and white, and I think modern horror really relies so heavily on gore because it's so easy to show blood now. But there's something very creepy, like that psycho shower scene with the blood going down the drain. There's something really creepy about that in black and white. Armchair Piper once again getting us back to heaven with the like button. Yornik, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say Midnight Meat Train was beautifully shot, but just don't expect to see those two things. I don't even know what that movie is, but The title just doesn't go with the thought of something being beautifully shot. I'm sure it is. Creator of the boundless universe. You get pipe mortar by making it yourself. I got a video on it. Just look for pipe mortar. Just YouTube search pipe mortar and my cane rod piper. It should pop up. And Mark is, Dr. Bo's gonna sick hobbits. That's terrifying. I'm sure there is some raw hamburger involved there, Doug. Midnight meat train. Yornik, is that a real movie? Because honestly, I've never heard of Midnight Meat Train. It's funny. Barnabas Collins in Dark Shadows, yes. And I've recently been enjoying. Sorry to keep going back to the same things, but I've been watching Columbo on Tubi, and I saw just the other night that Tubi has Dark Shadows. You can watch the whole series. Oh, fantastic, Urnik. I'm glad that the pipe mortar helped. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about it, and I'm really happy that it's been able to save some pipes. Gary Edminster says his Dr. Graybo freehand has pink fills. Yeah, it happens. You know, it's. I think it's most striking when it's a light pipe to begin with, and over time it darkens, and the fills kind of pop out. But then you know they're there. It is a real movie based on Clive Barker's book. Well, thank you, Yornik. I won't say I'm going to look for it because I just don't think I'd enjoy that, but I'm more of a old black and white horror, or I do like, I mean, it gets classified as horror, but the like 1950s stuff, like the giant claw, those kinds of things, I don't really think of them as horror. They're like this horror sci-fi hybrid. Oh, that's a great method there, TPI, to put briar plug in the bottom of the cob. Armchair Piper tried pipe mortar on a Dunhill and it worked great. Fantastic. Biff from Back to the Future is in the April Fool's slasher, says Mushroom Leg. Well, there's a reason to look it up. Gary Edminster says his Irish second hasn't won fill. Yeah, and I showed you my Irish seconds on St. Patrick's Day, and there's one that is, I can't figure out why it's a second, not a fill on the thing. The other one has one fill. Kevin's having a ginger ale in honor of matches. There you go. Yeah, Doug, I agree with you on that, with the knife touching the body and all. You know, there's something about, I guess it depends also a lot on what you kind of grow up with. You know, if you grew up with the slasher films, like some folks are saying they enjoy, maybe that's, something like Psycho just isn't going to do it for you. But growing up on things like that, I think what you bring to it is so much more powerful than what they could ever put on film. You know, the tension, the suspense, the imagination of the knife going to the body is much scarier than actually seeing it happen. Tim says a guy is walking down the street past the hospital with a very tall privacy fence. Hears people yelling 6666 over and over again. The man sees a knothole in the fence, so he takes a look. The moment he does take a look, he gets poked in the eye and they all yell 777. That's a good one, Tim. The Smooth Piper says he likes horror without the gory blood. Clive Barker helped with making the first Hellraiser movie. Huh. Based on his Hellbound Heart book. Too bad he didn't keep the rights. Yes, Mushroom Leg, The Haunting is a good example of that, indeed. Son of Dracula with Lon Chaney, that's an excellent movie, Smooth Piper. And yes, plenty of pipe smokers in those old movies. And Tim likes both the gory and the non-gory. Well, as I think I said last week, I think one of the reasons we keep talking about movies and TV shows and stuff is because it's a lot like pipe tobacco. You know, people like what they like, and we're all okay with that. Sailor says, first night in the ER in 75, a guy came in. He was in a knife fight, 23 stabs with a 5-inch blade, dead in 15 minutes. My goodness. What an initiation, huh? Kevin, now I want to watch Young Frankenstein. Thanks. Oh, that's a really cool story, Michael. In the 1960s, they asked a little girl if she liked radio or TV better. She said radio better because the pictures were much better. Lord Hogarth says The Other is another great horror movie with no gore. Don't know that one. Attack of the 50-Foot Woman gave Steve Gwynn nightmares. Steve... I assume you were a young lad when you saw it, Steve? That's got some creepy stuff in it, actually. I mean, you watch it now and it's kind of silly, but from a little kid's perspective, it would be kind of creepy. Tobacco Pipes International likes to have his brain engaged for it to be interesting. National Treasure was a good movie. I enjoyed that one. Not a fan of Nicolas Cage for the most part, but that was a pretty good movie. Tim says The Shining without the elevator with blood flooding the hallway wouldn't have been the same. You know what, Tim? I'm going to confess something here. It's going to get me in trouble, but I have never seen The Shining. Twilight Zone was a lot of fun, Kevin. Yes, Peter, the Hammer films, that's an interesting point because I do like Hammer films. And they were the first to really do the gore. I've got a Halloween video on Hammer, Hammer Frankenstein, and it goes into a little bit of the history around Hammer. And they really did bring gore into horror. I don't know. Well, the acting is fantastic in it, you know. So that's a big part of it. The way it was, the color in those movies is you see a Hammer film and you immediately know it's Hammer. There's something about the color palette that they used, and yes, there's gore in it, but it's not like slasher gore. It's done in a particular fashion, which they had to at the time because they were getting all sorts of trouble from censors. Gee, Tobacco Pipes International, I don't think I've ever seen the name Dan Brown and the word fact in the same sentence. Doug wants to mate the 50-foot woman with the Jolly Green Giant. Tim says I have to watch it. I guess he means The Shining. And Couch wants somebody to order me a copy. It's okay, Couch. I'm sure I can find it online. Doug wants me to see The Shining. All right. My homework this week is to watch The Shining. Dr. Phibes, creepy stuff. Jim PM, I'm glad you made it, even if it's for just the last few minutes there, Jim. Understand, you know, we got to keep the wife happy. Sailor says gore and horror go together like cookies and milk. Metropolis was good, Patrick, yes. Wait Until Dark was a good one, Michael. Yeah, Phibes was excellent. Vincent Price had so much good work, Lord Hogarth. I don't know if I could say Phibes was his best because there's just so many things that come to mind. I've been wanting to do a Halloween video about Vincent Price for years, but I just can't get it all together. He just did too much. Shelley Duvall's way too helpless in The Shining, says Doug. Don't give it away, Doug. Wait until next week. Mushroom Leg wants to know if anyone has seen The Greasy Strangler. Did he ride on the, what was it, the Midnight Meat Train? Sonny, who is also late. You're not late, Sonny. You're just in time. He also hasn't seen The Shining. Hey, I'm in good company then. I'll watch it in the dark, Doug, I promise. Yeah, Couch, that's why I quickly said I can find it online. I could just imagine getting 20 Shining DVDs over the next 2 weeks. You people are all far too kind. Please don't send me The Shining. Better pictures indeed, Mark, with the books. Yep. The House on Haunted Hill. Vincent Price was great in that, and the Bat. Yes, Gary. 2 hours I can never get back. Salem's Lot from 7. I think I've seen that, Peter. I remember Salem's Lot. I just can't picture it right now. Well, folks, I have almost finished this Irish flake, and we are a little bit over time. And I'm just drinking water so I don't have to finish it. So with that, I'm going to tie things up. I want to thank you for joining me. I had a great time. Always good to chat with you guys and talk about all the various things we wind up talking about. So I hope you all have a great week, fantastic weekend, a great week ahead. And we will not be back next week because it is Good Friday, so I'm going to take the week off and do Good Friday things. But we'll be back in 2 weeks, and I'll probably do something on Sunday, a little Easter video, and you know, catch you around between now and 2 weeks time. So I hope you all have a great weekend, good week ahead. Happy Easter to those of you that are celebrating, and we'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.